Oh, hey, what's up? Dusk here. You know what we should talk about today? The skill trees in Texas Chainsaw Massacre and how super bad they are. All right, so what we're going to do today is, we're going to go through why the trees are bad. I think most people agree the trees are bad, but we're going to talk about why they're bad and we're going to talk about how to fix them. The fixing part is the fun part. But let's talk about why they're bad first. And for this, I'm going to reference OG Blizzard, like pre Activision Blizzard, back in like World of Warcraft Burning Crusade Blizzard. Back then, they started talking about talent trees, is what they called them, but same difference, right? It was a level up process, it branched out and all that. And they talked about incremental additive bits in talent trees. And originally, that's how they started with World of Warcraft. But they said they wanted to move away from that because these incremental, like plus one minor upgrades to stuff wasn't fun or engaging, and it didn't do anything for the player to support a playstyle. It just took something you were already doing and just made it viable. It just made it not bad, right? And that isn't particularly fun or engaging or interesting in any sort of way. I'm gonna say that like OG Blizzard kind of knew what they were talking about. But if we think about it ourselves, when you are in Texas Chainsaw Massacre and you're leveling up a tree, are you excited at all to like click any of these little attribute points? Is that like engaging? Obviously, getting to the perk is because the perk does something. Um, but I don't think anybody looks at the tree and disregards the perks and like, well, I can get no cell. But I can get like a +1 attribute point over here, right? Like that doesn't really do anything. When you're thinking about how you want to play, you don't really think too much about these incremental points on the tree. Now, some of you might say, well, hold on. The stats actually do kind of change how you play the game a little bit, especially for victims when it comes to like how tanky or how fast you run, or those sorts of things. And I would say that that is absolutely true. But the incremental upgrades on the skill tree don't make that more true or add to that in any way. And what I'm saying is that you could find a way to take all this incremental convoluted BS and condense it down to something that is a lot more intuitive and interesting, package it with other sorts of things. Next, let's talk about how convoluted this thing is. Let's say you want to look for a particular perk. You will have to go through this whole tree, squint your eyes, and try to find the symbol, but a lot of the symbols have X's through them, which makes it harder to see, so then you have to like unspec, which maybe you don't even want to do, even though it's free, because it's a pain in the butt to have to click all this stuff over again, because it's convoluted. So why does it look this way? I don't know for sure. All I can do is guess. But it looks like they were trying to copy Dead by Daylight's Blood Web system and try to make it like bigger and grander and more convoluted. But this is definitely a case of like less is more, right? Like the Dead by Daylight blood webs are not the most interesting part of Dead by Daylight. They're not bad, and they're certainly a lot better than they used to be. They have been improved upon greatly. They used to be one of the biggest pain points in the game, for sure. But those have gotten better. But it's definitely not something that you want to try and like copy and then make bigger and more convoluted. That's like, it's definitely moving backward in innovation, not forward. So yeah, that is another like problem with this. And I think these are all things that are pretty easy to like observe, right? Again, though, let me just remind you that changing attributes, that's interesting. That does change gameplay. Acquiring those changes by going +1, +1, +1, +1. To better prove the point, let's zoom out all the way so we can see the whole tree. Cool. Now it's realistically too small to read. Next, let's talk about the problem with this thing, right? This is actually not that bad. It's pretty intuitive. It's bite size. It's pretty easy to look at it and kind of maybe know what you want. There's not a whole lot to read. Like, this is not a giant convoluted mess. However, it does have some problems. Julie is a great example. Like, let's say I want to get to this eventually, where it decreases my stamina usage by 100%, the best one, but I also want to increase the duration. Well, because these are linked together, you're forced to string them together through this, like, linkage system. I have to either pop over here and then run to the middle and then come up, or go over here, go up again, and then pop over here. And the problem with this is that these do not stack. So if I go over here and go up 2, this increased duration is just not counted. So I've lost the tier 1 ability now. All I would end up with is this and this. So now I have only 2 points in the tree. So that's problematic. If I go up the center, I've now lost the tier 2, which is the stronger ability out of the tree. So that's like very problematic, and this is easy to fix. So let's go ahead and start talking about how to fix these things. For this one, it's easy. Just get rid of the stupid linkage. So now let's jump back and talk about how you fix this. Now there are a million ways that you could go about fixing this tree, honestly. But if we want to make a serious suggestion, it needs to be something easy and lightweight, so that it's low in resources, so that it's something that the developers might actually be able to do in a reasonable amount of time, not like 4 years from now or 8 years from now, right? So how do we do that? What is one suggestion? And I'm just going to give an example that I came up with, but there are definitely going to be more than one way to do this. But here's my example, or here's my idea. You take this skill tree, the whole tab right here, right? The whole tab, and you just delete it. Delete the whole thing. Get rid of it. No more skill tree, because there is no lightweight way to fix this thing. Instead, you just have your loadout section, and you come over here, and you just buy these perks directly. And there's 3 tiers. So if you want the tier 3 version of the perk, you buy all 3 tiers. So what this means is that if you want to make sure you have the max version of the tier, or the perk, you just buy all 3 every time you get a perk. But maybe you want to test some perks out before you invest, you know, upgrading them all the way to level 3. So you might get a couple of level 1 grabs at this stuff, or maybe some stuff you're okay, like maybe Bomb Squad. You're like, you know what? I think I only really need level 1 on Bomb Squad for right now, so I'm going to get level 1 on that. But then you're like, but I want Jump Start, but I really need that at tier 3. But I don't know if I want to commit to it, so I'm going to just put 2 points into this one, just so I can test it out and see, yeah, if this is something I want. You know, basically something like that, and then as you level up, eventually you'll flesh all the perks out and get them to tier 3. You'll actually have a little bit more variety. There will be a little bit more balance work on the developer's part, but they're the ones that elected to have, you know, all these perks here. So, yeah. It's their job. They're going to have to balance this stuff. I don't think it'll be that hard. So now you're asking, well, what about the attributes? Wasn't that supposed to be a thing too? Excellent question. So here's what you do. Each one of these perks is associated with an attribute. They're even color-coded. That's pretty awesome, right? So what you do is if you plug in a proficiency perk, then this will give you some points to your proficiency. So if you want to balance out your stats, you need to take perks that give you the points in the stats. What this also means, and this is a great way to add balance to the game, if you're doing, let's say you're doing one of these grappler builds, right, that uses a lot of strength perks, that's going to up your strength. What this means is that you can't do a grappler build, but then also have 50 proficiency. And this also allows grapplers to just be good at grappling, because now they're gonna be bad at other parts of the game. But yeah, just attach your stats, your attributes to your perks. It also gives you more balancing tools for your perks. For example, let's say like Jack in the Box here. This is a super low tier perk. So one way to buff that would be to have it add much more to your strength. It's an example, all right? But then like Taekwondo, which is a much better one, would not add as much strength, right? This also makes things like highly skilled even more interesting, because not only does it add a flat chunk of proficiency, but it's a proficiency perk, so it will add just even more. Like, it's just a giant attribute dump, which if you're wanting to go for 50 proficiency, you'll have to take highly skilled, right? Like, that could be a gatekeeper perk, which is a cool way to do things. Like, you start to see more personality in these traits or these perks, right? Now, again, this is just one example and one way to do it. There are definitely other ways to go about doing this. This is just an example, and an example just kind of off the top of my head for the most part, which, if anything else, is just a testament to how easy it is to improve on this skill tree system, which is a testament to how bad it is, right? Like, it was not hard to come up with a way to improve it. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up here. Thanks for watching. Tell me what you all think. Do you agree, disagree? And I hope to see you in the next one.